Welcome to the initiative on Quantitative Aptitude, Develop, Enhance, Enrich. In this fourth video on simple interest, we discuss some problems with part of amount invested in certain interest rate and the remaining invested in another different interest rate. For example, out of rupees 7,000, some amount was lent at 6% per annum and the remaining at 4% per annum. If the total simple interest from both the fractions in 5 years was rupees 1,600, find the sum lent at 6% per annum. So out of 700, some amount is invested in 6% rate, the remaining at 4% rate. Total simple interest for 5 years is 1,600. We have to find the sum length at 6%. So for such problems, first we calculate the interest for 1 year. So we are given that for 5 years, the total simple interest is 1,600. So for 5 years, the interest is 1,600. So what is the simple interest, total simple interest for 1 year? So divide 1,600 by 5. So 1,600 by 5 gives you 320. So the total interest for 1 year is 320. What we are going to assume is, suppose the amount, all the amount was invested or was lent at the lowest interest rate. So here the two interest rates are 6% and 4%. Among the 6 and 4, the smallest is 4%. So we suppose all the 7,000 was lent at 4%. What is the interest for 1 year? If all the 7,000 was lent at 4%, the interest for 1 year is, for 100 the interest is 4. So we want interest for 7,000. So 4% rate of interest means for rupees 100, 1 year interest is 4. So for 100, 1 year interest is 4. We want the 1 year interest for 7,000. So divide 4 by 100, multiply by 7,000, or 7,000 into 4 by 100. So after simplification, you can very easily see that it is 280. So if all the amount was lent at the lowest percentage, 4%, the interest, total interest is rupees 280. But the actual interest received was 320. So 320 is actual interest. If all the amount was lent at 4%, the interest is 208. So the difference is 320 minus 280, that is 40. So the difference 40 is due to the amount lent at 6%. Because some of the amount is lent at 6%, that is for higher interest. The actual interest is 40 more than the 280. So 6%, the difference between the two interest rate is 6 minus 4, that is 2%. So the difference is 2%. 2% means if the difference amount is 2, then the amount lent at 6% is 100. If the difference amount is 2, the amount lent at 6% is 100. That is, 2 corresponds to 100. But what we want, the difference is 40. So what does 40 correspond to? So 2 corresponds to 100. So 40 corresponds to, as we have seen in the earlier videos, it is we have to divide 100 by 2, then multiply by 40. So divide 100 by 2, multiply by 40. So you get 50 into 40, that is 2000. So the sum length was at 6% is 2000. So naturally the sum length at 4% is 7000 minus 2000, 5000. Okay. So in this way, we can quickly solve such problems. So what do you have to do? First, calculate interest for 1 year, then calculate interest for the total amount for 1 year at the lowest percent, then find the difference of the interest and find the difference between the interest rate. So the interest rate difference is 2% here in this problem. So what does that mean? The difference to, if the difference is 2, the sum length at 6%, the highest percentage is 100. So 2 corresponds to 100. What 40 corresponds to? Okay. So quickly you can do in this way. But if we want to solve this using the usual method, in the usual method we assume x is the sum length at 6%. Then what is the amount lent at 4%? Total amount is 7000. So 7000 minus x. So we calculate interest for x at 6%, for 7000 minus 4 at 4% for 1 year. So the total interest is x into 6 by 100. For amount x, the interest is x into 6 by 100. For 7000 minus x, it is invested at or lent at 4% rate. So 7000 minus x into 4 by 100. So we get x into 6 by 100 plus 7000 minus x into 4 by 100 is 320. What is 320? 1600 divided by 5. That is 1 year interest. So in this we get a equation involving x. Cross multiply the equation by 100. We get 6x plus 28,000 minus 4x is 32,000. So 6x minus 4x is 2x. So 2x is 32,000 minus 28,000, which is 4,000. So 2x is 4,000. So x is 2,000. So the usual way we have to solve equation, we have to form the equation, then we have to solve the equation. Now we can take similar problem. A sum of rupees 1,550 was lent partly at 5% and partly at 8% per annum simple interest. The total interest received after 3 years was rupees 300. the ratio of money lent at 5% to that lent at 8% is asked. Okay. So similar problem. So calculate 1 year interest 300 by 300. If all the 1550 was lent at 5% interest for 1 year, then 1550 into 5 by 100 is the interest. That is 77.5 is the interest for 1 year. But the interest received is 100. So 100 minus 77.5 is 22.5. So this is because the difference rate 8% and 5%. So 8 minus 5 is 3. So 3 corresponds to 100. What does 22.5 corresponds to? 3 corresponds to 100. So we want what 22.5 corresponds to. So divide 100 by 3, multiply that by 22.5, you will get the amount as 750. That is the sum lent at the higher percentage is 750. So at 8% is 750. So what is the amount at 5%? 1550 minus 750, that is 800. So the ratio of money lent at 5% to that lent at 8% is 800 is to 750. If we cancel 800 and 750 by the common multiple 50, we get it is 16 is to 15. So the answer is choice C. Or we can do the other way, taking one amount as X. So suppose the total interest per year is 300 divided by 3, that is 100. X be the amount lent at 5%. Then the total interest received for 1 year is X into 5 by 100 plus the remaining amount is 1550 minus X, that into 8 by 100. So that is equal to the total interest. Here the total interest per year is 100. So if we cross multiply the equation by 100 and solve it, we get 3x is 2400 and hence x is 800. So the ratio is 800 is to 750, which is 16 is to 50. But in this problem, if we can observe one thing, we want the ratio of money lent in the two different rates. The ratios are given in the answer choice. So one among them is the correct answer. Okay. So suppose 5:8 is the amount lent in two different rates. Then the first amount is 5 times certain amount. The second one is 8 times certain amount, the same amount. So that is the sum lent at 5% is a multiple of 5 and lent at 8% is multiple of 8. It may be 5k, the other amount is 8k. So what is the total? 5 plus 8, 13k. That 13k has to be equal to 1550. It means 1550 has to be a multiple of 13, but 1550 is not a multiple of 13, or 13 does not divide 1550. So 5 is to 8 is not the correct answer. Similarly, 8 is to 5 is also not correct, because 8 plus 5 is 13. 13 does not divide 1550. 16 is to 15. 16 plus 15 is 31. 31 divides 1550. So we have to eliminate the other choice also. The remaining choice is 31 is to 6. So 31 plus 6 is 37. But 37 does not divide 1550. So among the answer choice, only 16 plus 15 divide 1550. The other do not divide 1550. So the correct answer is 16 is to 15. So if you observe that from the answer choice, we can very quickly answer this question. Because if the ratios are known, then the sum of the ratio is a divisor of the total sum, or the total sum is a multiple of sum of the ratio. So only 16 plus 15 divide 1550. So 16 is to 15 is the correct answer. A similar problem. A person invests a certain sum at 6% simple interest and another sum at 7% simple interest. Income from interest after 2 years is rupees 354. If 1/4 of the first sum is the 1/5 of the second sum, then the total sum invested is. So in this problem, total sum invested is not given. We have to find the total sum invested. So we cannot do this problem as the previous two problems. But here we are given that 1/4 of first sum is 1/5 of second sum. So 1/4 of first sum is equal to 1/5 of second sum. So what is the ratio of first sum by second sum? So first sum by second sum, if you bring that 4 to the right hand side, it comes to the numerator. So 4 by 5. So first sum by second sum is 4 by 5. So the ratio of first sum and to second sum is 4 to 5. So the total sum has to be a multiple of 4 plus 5, that is 9. The total sum is a multiple of 4 plus 5, that is 9. But among the answer choice given, you note 2500 is not a multiple of 9. 2600 is not a multiple of 9. 9 does not divide 2600. 9 divides 2700. 9 does not divide 2800. So among the answer choice, only 2700 is a multiple of 9. So the correct answer is 2700. But suppose in the answer choice, instead of 2600, if we have 3600, then 9 divides 3600 also. Now you cannot do the problem in the simple way, because there are two choices which are multiple of 9. So this method fails if the answer choice is 3600 instead of 2600. So this simple method need not is not we cannot apply this simple method when we have two or more answer choices corresponding to the condition given satisfying the condition. If there is only one, then that is the amount. So suppose instead of 2600 it is given 3600 in the answer choice. We cannot do that as simply, but we have to work out now. So for that, another simple method for direct method is, first here also we calculate for simplicity the interest for 1 year. We are given interest for 2 years. So the interest for 1 year, interest for 2 years is 354. So the interest for 1 year is 177. 354 divided by 2, 177. And we are given that 1 by 4th of first sum is 1 by 5th of second. So 1 by 4th of first sum is equal to 1 by 5th of second sum. So we can assume the first sum is a multiple of 4, the second sum is a multiple of 5. So the simple multiple of 4 is 400, the simple multiple of 5 is 500. So we assume that the amount invested at 6% and 7% be 400 and 500. So why we are taking that as 400 and 500? Because the first sum corresponds to 6% rate. The second sum corresponds to 7% rate. So 1 by 4th of first sum is equal to 1 by 5th of second sum. So we assume the first sum is 400, the second sum is 500. So that 1 by 4th of 400 is 100, 1 by 5th of 500 is also 100 there. So which is equal. So amount invested at 6%, we assume 400, invested at 7% as 5% for simplicity. Then what is the interest for 1 year? For 100, the amount is 6. For 400, it is 4 into 6. So at 7% for 500, it is 5 into 7. So the total interest for 1 year is 4 into 6 plus 5 into 7. That is 24 plus 35, which is 59. So if the total interest is 59, then the total amount invested or amount invested is 400 plus 500, that is 900. So the interest 59 corresponds to 900. 59 corresponds to 900. What we want? What 177 corresponds to. So to calculate what 177 corresponds to, we have to divide 900 by 59, multiply that by 177. That is 177 into 900 by 59. If we cancel 59 with 177, 3 times 59 is 177. So it is 3 into 900, that is 2700. So the total sum invested is 2700. And there is also another way to solve this. As in the first part, the earlier part, the interest for 1 year, if we calculate 354 by 2, 177. We take the amount invested at 6% as X and 7% as Y. So then the interest for X at 6%, interest for Y at 7% for 1 year is 6 by 100 into X plus 7 by 100 into Y. So the total interest is equal to 177. So we get the equation 6 by 100 X plus 7 by 100 into Y is 177. If you cross multiply by 100, we get 6x plus 7y is 17,700. And also we are given that 1 by 4th of first sum is equal to 1 by 5 of second sum. So one, that is the first sum we have assumed is x, second sum is y. So 1 by 4 of x is equal to 1 by 5 of y. So if we cross multiply 4 and 5, we get the equation 5x equal to 4y. That is 5x minus 4y is 0. So we get two equations involving x and y, and you have to solve the two equations. So one equation is 6x plus 7y is 70,700. The other equation is 5x minus 4y is 0. So to solve the equation, you have to multiply the first equation by 5, the second equation by 6, then subtract, you get the value for y, then find the value for y. After finding the value for y, you have to substitute in one of the equation or in one of the equation to get the value for x. So if you solve it, you can get x equal to 1200, y is 1500. So the total amount is 1200 plus 1500, that is 2700. So simple observation on the answer may give in some problems simple method to solve the problem. Okay. So thank you for watching. Work hard to get a success. Wish you all success. Thank you.